Alright, so now we are going to put together the mill from Hametsu. Now, keep in mind, first thing you want to know is you do want to use an X-Acto knife to punch these out. Don't just push. Also, you want to wipe down the front face of the sheets. Now, you can do both sides as well, but I usually just do the front side because there's going to be some soot left over. And as I always say, make sure you dry fit everything. Make sure you follow the instructions carefully. Make sure you're paying attention to what piece goes where. Now, as you can see here, there's a little bit of an issue, so I had to shave a little bit off of the inside of this peg hole. And that's the reason why. Before you start gluing down, make sure everything fits. Now, there were a couple of pieces here, besides this one, that I had to put a little bit of extra work into. Nothing big, nothing much, absolutely nothing to worry about. It was all minor modifications. So, on this first floor, it's very simple. You grab a couple of pieces, you put a couple of pieces together. Not a big problem, all right? Just make sure you line everything up, especially because as you can see there, because you got to make sure everything fits right. So the rubber band trick works. A Sharpie, brown Sharpie, as a matter of fact, works for coloring in any of the areas that you have to trim down and any damaged areas as well, because there were a couple of pieces, very small parts on the outside of the MDF here that were kind of messed up. So when you're doing your gluing, there will be a lot of slats like this on this particular building where you have to glue these very small areas. And one thing that you can do is you can take a wet brush, not completely soggy, just slightly moist, and you can kind of use that moisture to push the glue into the recesses and kind of reinforce everything. And that is something that will help you to keep everything together, and it will give it a stronger bond as well. Now, this front piece here, one thing you want to keep in mind is you want that top to line up, not the bottom, because there is another little piece that's going to go underneath it once we start putting together a little porch area. So keep that in mind. Those two pieces right there that I just put on, make sure that you leave a slight gap at the bottom. All right, so this is the first floor assembled, as you can see, and there's the little gap there at the bottom where that's where the little floor piece is going to go in. So that was floor one. Now floor one was fairly easy. I'm going to skip over having you watch me put all of these little pieces on, because that was kind of tedious. One cool thing about this particular building is you can take a piece of white paper and you can put it into the little doors and windows there, and it basically simulates what you would see in like an old school Japanese, like in their architecture, like they have the paper that goes in between everything. And an even cooler thing here, the door opens and closes. I don't know why, but I kind of consider that, I don't know, a really cool bonus feature, the fact that you can open and close the door. Now watch what you're doing when you're gluing this piece. I accidentally put a little too much glue and I almost glued the door open. And so what I had to do is I had to go back and sort of wet that down and fix it so it would open and close without that extra issue. So that is the door, and it really, interestingly enough, that's my favorite part of the building. Anyway, so here we have the stairwell. Now, stairs are always going to be kind of an issue, but this set of stairs, I got to give it to Blacksite Studios. It was amazing to put together. I had no issues at all. Normally, when you're putting stairs together, it is a slog. Now, when I put together the Sundered Empire stuff, the stairs were just as easy as this. I love this. This is great. This is obviously, this was designed by someone that has put those damn stairs together before and knows, dear God, it sucks to have to put those damn stairs together when you have to line everything up and make sure it all fits. This set is beautiful, and I just have to hand it to you. I know I'm gushing a little bit, but that is Black Site. That was amazing. Thank you very much. It was actually pleasant to assemble stairs for once. Now this part gave me a little bit of a problem. And the reason why is I was kind of having a hard time fiddling everything together and putting all the little pieces. In the end, the best way to do this is to line up one area and then line up the next, like you do the back side and then the front side there. And that way it will be a little bit easier to get together. Now, as you can see, normally what you would do is you would just kind of lay the building on there. However, this foundation, you have to line it up properly. So instead of doing that, what I've done is I kind of moved everything to the side, and of course I broke it up in a little bit more. And then I laid it on top, lined it up, and I dropped some glue. Now, I made the mistake of gluing the top side here, and then I realized, oh, I'm going to have to flip it over. So be very careful when you're gluing this. Be very careful with what you're doing. Watch where you're putting everything. And the great thing about those is you can go back and reinforce them with a little bit of Elmer's glue. You just kind of push it into the corner with the applicator tip. But this piece here was a little bit of, it was worrying me a little bit to get it in there, but I finally was able to get it, and then I just had to realign everything. Once I realigned everything and glued everything down, I took that applicator, as you can see here, I put a little bit of glue in each corner, and then I wet it down and spread it out so it would be a little stronger. Then I also put some on each of the little, the underslats here, just to kind of reinforce the build and reinforce the bond between them. Now moving on to the top floor, this wall, there is one piece that you need to pay attention to. Okay, so this side wall here, it comes with a little square piece that was on it. Now at first I was just going to leave the square piece on there and just call it a full building. Well, I went ahead and I read the instructions a little bit down the line, and I realized that this building is modular. So you can either have it damaged or you can have it fully put together and you can swap it out, which is great. So don't accidentally or on purpose leave those little square pieces. There's the rectangular piece that goes on this piece that's in my hand, right? You just remove that and you remove the square piece, and it gives you that little corner section here. As you can see with me holding these up, it gives you that little corner section where you can swap things out. Now, along with that, there are these little pieces here. As you can see, I'm separating them because there's a slot there. So I'm separating them so I can glue them on properly to the right walls. Now, what I'm doing here, on this outer trim, I'm going to line this up, and then I'm going to put the wall in to make sure that I have everything correctly, lined up and put together. Make sure that as you're doing this, line everything up a couple of times. You know how they say measure twice, cut once? Well, that's the same thing. Measure twice, glue once in this particular case. Just make sure you're going through and putting everything together in the right order. Now, as you can see here, right, this is the other half of the little wooden piece, and you just kind of slot that in, and I am taking measure and putting everything in there just temporarily to kind of make sure everything is lined up right. Now, there is a bit of a bottom piece there, as you can see here, that I had to actually kind of trim it down, but I did miss one spot, and that was causing an issue. And I will show you here in just a second. In that little corner where I'm scraping, I forgot to scrape off the sprue point, the wooden, because the wooden sprues, it leaves a little bit of fibrous material there on the corner sometimes. So make sure you get it off of that particular piece, because I almost ruined the build on that. Anyway, so I tried to line everything up, and I realized that it was kind of difficult for everything to sit. So I had to shave each of those little pegs by just a small amount, so I could get the top floor on there with the bottom floor. And it was just a little bit of a gap that you have to do. Now, as you can see here, I'm kind of rocking everything around to make sure it fits now, and it does. Now, these pieces, once again, make sure that you line them up and make sure that you put them together while you're putting this particular piece in the slot where it goes. That way you can line up all of the little wooden pieces, this little outer trim, and make sure that it sits correctly, because you don't want that trim sitting too low or sitting too high, because you can definitely cause issues that way. Now, what I'm going to do with this here, I'm actually going to store the one that I'm not using, or the one that's not set up inside of the building. It'll fit inside of the building, actually, conveniently enough, when I'm storing the building. Now, for the roof, I did once again have to trim just a little bit off of the side there, and it's not a big deal. It's not a big problem. But for the roof, these little side pieces here, these little triangular pieces, they are going to have a bit of a problem standing up on their own when you kind of squish them together. So just make sure that you kind of use both hands like I'm doing there, and make sure you reinforce everything, because there is a roof piece that's going to go on top of that. No one's ever going to see inside of it. No one's ever going to see underneath. So feel free to, throw a ton of glue down there and just kind of make sure everything's going to stick properly. Now, each of these little triangle pieces here, they hold the roof, and as you can see, there's a little groove cut in there that shows you how to line it up. And it's the same with these outer pieces. It lines up perfectly with the side panels, so you don't have to worry about that much either. Now, the roof, there are a couple of pieces of roof. Make sure you get the two that are the same size for this top, okay? Because there is one that is just a little bit bigger, and that's for that second floor, or the second floor roof right there. So this is the other side of the roof. Now, it does not have a backing, so this one you're going to have to kind of line up and eyeball it manually. And just kind of, and if you want, you can actually stand it up on its side there. That way you'll know it's lined up. But for me, I just kind of eyeballed it and put it together that way. Now, again, this is a section of the roof that you're probably not going to put eyeballs in. So it's fairly easy just to line everything up and just put a little bit of extra glue in there just to make sure, like, once it dries, you can actually put a little bit more on the side of each of these supports. Now, I did not opt to do that because I really wanted to get the building finished at this point, because I had been building all day. Now, with the roof panel completed, it actually it lines up pretty well. Now, on this one, the instructions didn't actually say to put the little triangular supports in there, but I mean, go figure, you're going to need those triangular supports, right? Because you're not going to be able to hold up that roof spot without it. But make sure you line up the roof and make sure that it's in the right spot, so you won't have any overhang that's overlapping too far. So that piece is the damaged roof, and I'll show you here. If you slot this damaged piece in, and then you take the well, as you can see, I'm still kind of like lining everything up, but you just kind of slide that in there. So this is the front facing of the building with the fully the non-damaged portion put inside of the wall. That roof there is a little tight for me, so I might end up shaving that peg as well. But as you can see, all you got to do is remove that piece of roof there, and it fits down perfectly, as long as you line it up when you're gluing it together. And now you have that damaged section and the first floor as well. So everything, this whole thing, and of course, once again, that door tickles me to death. I don't know why. But this is a great building. It's a great build. It was very easy, very simple. It took a little while, but you know what? I love the look of it. I'm really into it. Anyway, long video, but thank you for watching, and we'll see you next video.